Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you're, I don't know, maybe 7 years old. You're kneeling next to this crystal clear creek in southeastern Turkey, and a wild wolf just steps out of the forest.
Wow.
Yeah, just to drink right next to you. And now, I mean, think about your grandchildren today.
Right.
The only wolves they are ever going to see are, trapped behind glass at a zoo or glowing on a television screen. And it really makes you wonder, like, how did we lose the wild world so quickly?
Well, and when you ask environmental scholars how we reached that breaking point,
Yeah.
they don't just point to the Industrial Revolution or, carbon emissions.
Yeah.
They actually point to a psychological shift.
Mm.
Like the exact moment we started viewing nature as basically a vending machine.
The vending machine, yeah.
And the author of today's source material, Ibrahim Özdemir, he actually lived that childhood with the wolf in the creek.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he grounds this entire discussion in that profound, very personal loss.
Which honestly makes this such a compelling angle. We're looking at Özdemir's article from the Yale Forum on Religion and Ecology today. It's titled A Common Care for Creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to note right at the top, our mission with this deep dive, and it's something they actually wanted to produce at Yale as well, is to take this highly academic article and really explore it for a general English-speaking audience,
Right.
Whether you're Muslim, non-Muslim, whatever your background. Because usually losing a connection to the natural world, it launches this highly technical debate about, policy gridlock or parts per million of atmospheric carbon.
Yeah, the data dump.
Exactly, the data dump. But this source completely bypasses that. And importantly, it approaches the deep theological creed of Islam regarding nature with the utmost sensitivity and respect.
Which is so crucial here. Because what's fascinating here is that data alone doesn't actually change human behavior.
Right. We know the numbers.
Exactly. I mean, the UN's Millennium Ecosystem Assessment already proved that human activity is pushing the Earth to a point where future generations' survival just cannot be taken for granted.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It is. We know the statistics. But Özdemir argues that the crisis isn't rooted in a lack of science. It's rooted in our modern mechanical worldview. It's what gets described in the text as a throwaway culture.
A throwaway culture. I want to dig into the mechanics of that phrase for a second.
Yeah.
Because a throwaway culture treats nature purely as a repository of commodities.
Right.
Like the intrinsic value of a forest or a river is just erased. It's replaced entirely by its market value. So, a forest only matters if it can be chopped into timber.
Or a river is just a water supply.
Yeah, or a cheap waste disposal system, right?
Exactly. In that mindset, things exist strictly to be bought, sold, consumed, and then discarded.
It's just thrown away.
Yeah. And if nature is just a commodity, then destroying a habitat isn't, a moral failure. It's just a business expense.
A line item on a budget.
Right. So overcoming that requires a lot more than just telling people to, recycle their plastic bottles.
Right.
The Abrahamic traditions actually propose a much more radical paradigm shift, which is replacing endless consumption with a deeply rooted posture of praise and gratitude.
And, Pope Francis famously tackled this, right? In his 2015 encyclical Laudato Si, which translates to "Praise be to you, my Lord," he framed the earth not as a resource pool, but as a sister and a beautiful mother.
Yeah, and the lineage of that idea is just fascinating. He took his papal name from St. Francis of Assisi, who is the 13th century patron saint of ecology.
Oh, right. The one with the birds?
Yeah, St. Francis was famous for preaching to birds and, according to the legend anyway, brokering a peace pact with the wild wolf of Gubbio.
No way.
Yeah, this wolf was terrorizing a town.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't see animals as pests or just resources. He viewed every single creature as kin.
That's beautiful.
It really is. And the encyclical leans heavily on that tradition, arguing that creation has a much broader meaning than just nature.
How so? Like, what's the difference?
Well, nature can be studied, right? It can be categorized, controlled, but creation implies a loving gift from a creator.
Oh, I see. Okay. But I mean, in theory, that's beautiful. But in practice, I kind of struggle with how calling a forest my sister actually stops a logging company from, clear cutting it to meet quarterly earnings.
Right. How does it translate?
Yeah. Like, how does this theological framework translate into actual systemic change?
Well, it attacks the cultural demand that empowers that logging company in the first place. The Pope uses a very specific framework. He states that humans are stewards, not masters.
Stewards, not masters. Okay. It reminds me of like moving into a fully furnished, beautiful rental home.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Right. Like you can live in it, you can cook in the kitchen, sleep in the bed, but you absolutely cannot knock down the load-bearing
Yeah, no.
walls or, sell the living room furniture on the internet because it fundamentally doesn't belong to you. You are just a tenant.
Yeah, that analogy perfectly captures the ethical constraint of stewardship. You have this binding responsibility to leave the house in pristine condition for the next tenant.
For the next generation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the encyclical links that can straight directly to human equality, which is key.
How does that connect?
Well, the throwaway culture doesn't just strip mine mountains, It discards human beings too. Environmental destruction disproportionately displaces the poor and the marginalized.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because if you view the physical world as disposable, I guess you eventually view excluded people as disposable too.
Precisely. That's precisely the argument. You cannot separate concern for the natural world from justice for the poor. The exact same mindset that exploits the soil is the mindset that exploits cheap labor.
Man. Pope Francis calls it treating the earth as a shared inheritance.
Right.
And here's where it gets really interesting. What's striking about this source is that this isn't just a modern Catholic revelation.
No, not at all.
If you rewind the clock about a century, you find an almost identical, staggeringly beautiful spiritual defense of nature being constructed in the Islamic world.
Yeah, by said Nursi. He lived from 1877 to 1960.
Okay.
And he is arguably one of the most influential Muslim thinkers to emerge from 20th century Turkey.
Yeah.
He's the author of this massive collection of writings called the Risale-i.
And, as we unpack Nursi's philosophy, I really want to be mindful here. We are stepping into the deep theological creed of Islam.
Yes.
Nursi wasn't just giving folks practical gardening advice, right? He was constructing this intricate philosophy of profound reverence for the Creator's work.
Absolutely. And to grasp Nursi's perspective, you basically have to abandon the mechanical worldview entirely.
Okay, so no vending machine.
Right, no vending machine. For him, the universe isn't just dead matter bumping into other dead matter.
Yeah.
He actually described nature as the mighty Quran of the universe.
The mighty Quran of the universe.
Wow. Yeah, nature is a literal form of divine revelation. It's filled with signs. The Arabic word is ayat, by which the Creator makes himself known to humanity.
Okay, wait. If the universe is literally viewed as a divine book, it completely changes the math on environmental destruction.
How so?
Well, driving a species to extinction wouldn't just be like an ecological tragedy. It would be akin to burning the pages of a sacred text.
You hit the nail on the head. You are literally erasing a word or a sentence from the book of creation before future generations even get a chance to read it.
That's heavy.
It is. It transforms environmental degradation from a civil offense into a cosmic sacrilege. And this perspective, it's anchored in the traditional Islamic theory of the divine names.
Right, which was influenced by early scholars like Al-Ghazali, if I remember the text correctly.
Exactly, yeah, Al-Ghazali.
But I am trying to wrap my head around this theory. The text says every creature reflects God's attributes. So if true medicine reflects the divine name of healer, what does something completely mundane, like, I don't know, math or engineering, reflect in this framework?
That's a great question. According to Nursi, geometry and mathematics would reflect the name of determiner or measurer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the artistry of a sunset. That reflects the beautifier. Every single being, and really every system in the universe, acts as a mirror reflecting one or many of these divine names.
That is so cool. And the imagery he uses to describe this is just incredible. He wrote that trees act in the name of God.
In Arabic, Bismillah.
Right, Bismillah. He describes trees filling their hands from the treasury of mercy to offer us fruit. And he says the roots of plants, which are soft as silk, say Bismillah, and pierce through hard rock and earth.
Just think about the tension there for a second. A delicate, silken, root-shattering, solid rock.
It's wild. But as a modern person used to science, my high school biology class tells me that's just hydrostatic pressure
Right.
and cellular growth. So it's hard for me to look at a weed breaking through a concrete sidewalk and see an act of worship rather than just, blind biology. How did Nursi bridge that gap between the mechanics of science and the mysticism of faith?
Well, the interesting thing is he didn't reject the biology at all.
Oh, he didn't.
No, he fully embraced the science. He just asked the ultimate follow-up question. Like, why does hydrostatic pressure exist? Who authored that physical law? Nursi argued that looking at the root and only seeing cellular growth is basically stopping halfway. The cellular growth is the mechanism, sure, but the power behind the mechanism is an act of obedience by the plant itself, executing a divine command.
Wow. And he lived this philosophy in incredibly specific, like, everyday ways, right?
He really did.
There's this story from when he was in exile where he actually physically stopped a gamekeeper from shooting partridges.
Yeah, he intervened because it was their nesting time. He recognized that these animals had their own lives, their own intrinsic purposes,
Right.
and an absolute right to exist undisturbed.
Yeah.
They weren't just targets or food. He saw them as fellow worshipers.
And he took this way beyond majestic birds or cute animals. He actually wrote an entire defense of flies and mosquitoes.
Yes, he did.
Which, let's be honest, absolutely tests the limits of my own environmentalism.
I think it tests everyone's limits. I mean, nobody likes mosquitoes.
Right.
But while he was in prison, he watched the guards indiscriminately spraying insecticides to kill flies. And it deeply upset him.
Really? In prison?
Yeah. He actually wrote a treatise calling flies health workers and cleansing officials.
Cleansing official?
Yeah, he pointed out that they consume decaying matter and poisonous substances. So long before modern ecology fully mapped out these scavenger ecosystems, Nursi saw them as executing a divine command to keep the earth clean.
That completely flips the script on what we consider a pest.
It does.
But, okay, the story that completely blew my mind was his observation of cats.
Oh, the cat story is amazing.
Yeah.
So, Nursi relates that one day he was watching some cats, and he was wondering to himself, why do these animals just eat, play, and sleep? What is their purpose?
The ultimate cat question.
Exactly. And later, while he was resting, one of the cats came and lay against his pillow, purring right next to his ear.
And he listened closely, right? And he realized the purring wasn't just a random biological vibration.
No, he realized their unarticulated meows and purrs were actually a rhythmic invocation.
Oh.
They were repeating the phrase, "O most compassionate," which in Arabic is Ya Rahim.
Ya Rahim.
Yeah. And he concluded that this wasn't just this one cat, but all cats engaged in this constant, eloquent recitation of praise to their creator.
I mean, to walk through a forest or even just sit in your living room with your pet and perceive every living thing as actively engaged in a chorus of praise, it requires a completely different cognitive lens on reality.
It really does. And Nursi provided a very specific philosophical toolkit to develop that lens.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. He relied on two Arabic concepts. First, there's mana-i-ismi, which is the nominal meaning of things.
Yeah.
And then there's mana-i-harfi, which is the significative meaning of things.
Okay, let's test this to see if I actually understand it.
Go for it.
If I look at something modern, like let's say my smartphone, if I look at it through mana-i is the nominal meaning, I'm just looking at the object for its own sake, right?
Right.
I see glass, I see silicon, a lithium battery, maybe a brand logo on the back. It's just a device that exists to entertain me or keep me connected.
Exactly. That is the nominal meaning.
Yeah.
And Nursi equates looking at the universe purely through man-i-es with ignorance.
Yeah.
Because you are completely missing the author.
Okay, so if I switch to mana-i harfi, the significative meaning, I'm supposed to look at what it points to.
Yes.
So for a tree, it points to the creator's artistry. But for a smartphone, like how does that work?
Well, you look through the phone to see the profound human ingenuity that designed it, which in this framework reflects the divine gift of intellect.
Oh, okay.
And you see the intricate raw materials that were mined from the earth, placed there by a creator. The source material actually uses a really brilliant analogy for this. It compares looking at the world purely for its own sake to staring at a lace veil or a transparent piece of glass.
Oh, I like that, because if you just stare at the glass itself, you completely miss the landscape on the other side.
Exactly. True knowledge is looking through the veil of nature to see the bestower of bounties beneath it.
Okay, but how does looking through that veil actually stop me from, say, buying the newest smartphone when my old one works perfectly fine?
Right, the practical application.
Yeah, I want to understand the mechanism here. How does this theology actually rewrite consumer psychology?
It rewrites it through gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah, consumerism, this throwaway culture I've been talking about, it is fundamentally driven by a sense of lack. It thrives on that emotional void that tells you, you are empty and this next purchase will finally fulfill you.
Right, the hedonic treadmill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when you view the world through man-i-harfi, recognizing every single object and resource as a deliberate, loving gift from a creator, the natural psychological response is immense gratitude.
And gratitude acts as an antidote to that emptiness.
It completely short-circuits the urge to overconsume. Nursi wrote that the most important fruit of the tree of creation is thanks,
Wow.
If your primary posture toward the physical world is thankfulness, wastefulness basically becomes impossible. Wasting a resource isn't just inefficient, it's a rejection of the divine name of the wise, who created everything with a purpose.
Which honestly builds an incredible bridge between the Islamic scholar and the Catholic leader we talked about earlier.
It really does.
Despite their different theological vocabularies, both see the modern throwaway culture as a direct affront to God. Both view the earth as a sacred home that requires our stewardship.
And Nursi was remarkably ahead of his time in seeing the need for a coalition on this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, around 1911, and then again after the devastation of World War II, he made a daring public call for Muslims to unite with what he termed truly pious and spiritual Christians.
Wow, that early.
Yeah, he believed they had a shared God-given task to oppose the common enemies of humanity, which he identified as ignorance, poverty, and disunity.
So he was calling for an interfaith environmental and social coalition decades before it became a mainstream talking point.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, you can hear the direct legacy of Nursi's vision in the 2015 Islamic Climate Change Declaration.
Oh, right. I remember reading about that in the source.
Yeah, this was issued in Istanbul right around the exact same time Pope Francis released his encyclical. Muslim scholars from across the globe issued this powerful statement, and it was heavily influenced by Nursi's framework. It rejected human greed and demanded the protection of nature's delicate balance.
They applied his early 20th century theology directly to modern climate policy.
They did.
And they asked a deeply chilling question in that declaration. Let me pull it up. They said, "What will future generations say of us who leave them a degraded planet as our legacy? How will we face our Lord and Creator?"
It's a question that just cuts completely through the political noise and the scientific jargon.
It really
It
is.
demands moral accountability on a cosmic scale.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive talking about the learner, the person listening right now who might feel totally overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the ecological crisis.
Yeah, it's easy to feel helpless.
It is. But whether you are a practicing Muslim, a devoted Christian, or someone who doesn't follow any faith tradition at all, the takeaway here is profound. Beating the climate crisis requires a lot more than just carbon taxes and solar panels.
Though we definitely need those tools.
Oh, absolutely. We desperately need them. But it also requires a fundamental shift in how we value the world around us.
It requires replacing utility with awe.
Yeah.
The economic models of unlimited growth and endless consumption, they are just mathematically and philosophically incompatible with a system that has a delicate inherent balance.
Right.
And whether you view that delicate balance as a divine gift or, a marvel of evolution, the ethical imperative is identical.
Yeah.
We cannot treat our home like a disposable commodity.
We have to move from being consumers of a warehouse to stewards of a sanctuary.
That's a great way to put it. We've journeyed from the panic of ecological destruction to a shared ancient wisdom today, a wisdom that views the earth not as a machine to be hacked, but as a sacred home that we are tasked to steward with love, gratitude, and a profound sense of responsibility.
I love that. And I want to leave everyone with one final thought to mull over, building on everything we just discussed today.
Okay.
Both Said Nursi and Pope Francis speak incredibly beautifully about pristine nature, the crystal clear creeks, the wild wolves, the oceans, the forests. But if the universe is a book written by a creator and humans are an integral part of that creation, what does that mean for our concrete cities?
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. What does it mean for our technology, our highway systems, and our digital world?
Yeah.
Can we learn to see that lace veil of meaning and practice gratitude even in the middle of a bustling man-made metropolis?
That's a challenge.
It is. So next time you are stuck in gridlock traffic or just walking down a completely concrete sidewalk, ask yourself how you can still act as a steward of that space. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep looking for the deeper meaning in the world around you.